Hello, guys, and welcome to this very special episode. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of information, very specific information around ET contact. What is it going to look like visually? What can we expect to see and experience? And which species are we going to be interacting with here on planet Earth? So, before I go into all of this exciting stuff, I want you to know that a lot of the information I'm sharing with you here today comes from big channelers out there like Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, Daniel Scranton, who channels Arcturian Council and other councils, Lee Harris, who channels plenty of councils as well, Wendy Kennedy, who channels the Pleiadian Council, and many other reputable sources. And the reason I'm sharing this information with you now is because 2026 is the year to get ready emotionally, physically, mentally, energetically on all levels, because ET contact is already here. We know this, but 2027 is most likely going to be the year where we have a full global consensus on the fact that we are not alone in the universe. This is already a fact. We already know this. Anyone who's deep into the channeling world, the extraterrestrial world, have had a lot of experiences already, but we are waiting and getting prepared for it to become a global mass consensus. And we are approaching that time, which is a huge step in humanity's evolution. And it's going to have so many positive ripple effects on us on an individual level, on a collective level, also when it comes to our progress, on a society level, because in order for humanity to just even be open to having contact with non-human species is a massive step in our evolution. Okay, let's dive into the fun stuff. First, I'm going to let you know about the visuals, what you can expect to see in the sky, and then I'll tell you two species that we're going to be interacting with here on planet Earth. Again, there's plenty of other species here already. There's lots of people who've had contact already, but I'm talking about which species are we going to see most people interacting with in the beginning. A little story, I went to Bashar's channeling event, Dawar Anka's channeling event in New York this summer, which was so much fun. And they showed us visuals of the different species, what they look like, all of that stuff. And they also showed us graphics of what we can expect to see in the sky now that we're going to have more and more sightings, and it's going to be really common for people to start seeing spaceships in the sky. So they showed us that the first big sighting, and when I'm saying sighting, I'm not talking about some little dot in the sky that just like buzzes around and you can't really tell if it's a plane or a drone. I'm not talking about dark at night where it's like you can hardly tell what it is. I'm not talking about really low resolution camera footage that's super pixelated and you're like, yeah, I guess maybe that's a spaceship. I'm talking about full HD right there in front of you. You can see with your own eyes. That is absolutely a spaceship. And again, I'm not talking about holographic projections that is created by fear mongering and all that stuff. I'm talking about the real deal here that we are going to see. You can expect to see a spaceship that will most likely be round in shape, and it's going to be quite large. It's not going to be a tiny little thing. It's going to be quite large. It's going to have a safe distance from us, so it's not going to be right in our faces. It's not going to come barging in front of your window. It's going to be in a public space, most likely above a body of water, and far enough to not be too intimidating. So again, I'm talking about this in the previous episode of ET Contact, where they're not going to come barging in here and just make us feel terrified. They are going to keep a safe distance, because why would they come in here if that's going to, if their appearance and if their presence is going to cause a mass psychosis, right? The last thing that our friendly extraterrestrial family members, basically, there are relatives really, the last thing they would want to do is to put us in a state of fear, because for so many years they have been helping us in our evolution spiritually. All the channelers who are channeling information from our benevolent friends out there in the galaxy, they're helping us remove fear as much as possible and bring us closer and closer and closer to our source-like energy, to be full embodiment of unconditional love, to understand that we're all connected here in this universe. And because of that evolution, we are also now becoming closer and more ready to meeting them, right? It all makes sense. So they wouldn't come here and do anything that would cause any disruption in our nervous systems. So they're going to keep a safe distance. They're not going to come in here and shock us, right? That wouldn't make any sense. So big ship in the sky, safe distance, but not so far that we can't see what it is. So it's going to be close enough, but not too close. Then what is it going to do? It's just going to be there. It's just going to stand there. It's just going to levitate there in one place, completely still. Why is that? It's because that will give us time to acclimatize, to adjust. Because again, we have to take in consideration that people are at different levels. People have different level of readiness. And even when people think that they're really ready, it could still be very overwhelming to their nervous systems. So they're going to be there, levitating still in the air for a significant period of time. And the reason for that is to let us just kind of settle into, okay, what's happening here? So initially for a lot of people, it can be like, oh my God, oh, look at that. Take a bunch of photos, take a bunch of videos. Whoa, there's a thing in the sky. And then 20 minutes will pass. It's still there. And then another 20 minutes will pass. It's still there. So even if you get excited, or even if you get happy, even if you feel joyful, any state that's too elated, they will still register as like, okay, great, that's really wonderful, and let's settle in here. Because even extreme states of love and happiness and joy and ecstasy can be overwhelming to us. So it's going to stand there and let it settle. Plus, that's the love side of it. You know, some of us can feel really overwhelmed with love, because it's going to be like a homecoming. It's going to be like seeing family members that you haven't seen for so long, and you finally become reunited with them again. For a lot of people, it's going to bring up a lot of emotion for them, and it can feel intense because on a soul level, they've been waiting for this for a really long time. So even that has to be taken in consideration and also be honored and appreciated and respected. Then there's the other side of the spectrum. There's people who feel fear. There are people who would be shocked. There are people who would be like, this challenges all of my belief systems, and how can this be true? And if that's true, then what else is true? And it can bring up some fear. So they have to keep a safe distance. They have to stand still to just let people settle into the fact that, okay, they are here. So you might see this in the sky, and then some time passes, you go home, and then maybe the next day you're like, oh my God, wait, is it still there? And then you go out and it's still there. Or if you're not at the particular place where it's showing itself, you might check the news, you might check your phone, it is still there. And again, 2026 is also the year where there's going to be a lot of AI, there's going to be a lot of AI footage and things like that. However, your intuition is never wrong. So for anyone who's like, oh, but it's going to be fake and it's just going to be a holographic projection just to scare people or to distract people, yada, 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 I would not waste your time pondering about that. Like, if it happens, it happens. And if it's real, you will know it's real. That's it. Like, don't waste your time contemplating, oh no, now it's AI taking over the world and going into fear mongering and all that kind of stuff, because it's just a waste of your time. So you will know if it's real or not. I can promise you that, because your intuition is never wrong. So I'm talking about the real thing here. Maybe the next day you check again, it's still there. Oh my God. So do you see what I mean? Now your nervous system gets some time to adjust, like this is happening. So this is going to be the first visual signs. Ships in the sky. Is there only going to be one? Probably not. There's probably going to be several. Probably going to be many. So that different groups of people in different parts of the world can all get used to this, right? Okay, so those are the visuals that you will see at a distance when it comes to the ships. Now, what can we expect when it comes to physical contact with non-human intelligences? So before I go into the specific species, there's a couple of steps that are important to know. And this is from Tim Tactical. If you haven't checked out Tim Tactical and his YouTube channel, he shares a lot of really fascinating information when it comes to ET contact. He himself has had a lot of ET contact experiences, and he has worked in projects that are involved in communicating with non-human intelligences. So go check out Tim, everybody. And there are a few simple steps that he shares. And I'm just going to share a couple of them with you here when it comes to contact. Because if you have an encounter with a extraterrestrial species, there's several things that could potentially happen. If you're the person who are super excited about this, you might feel the pull to run towards them or to touch them or to give them a hug or, burst out in a strong emotion. And one thing that we have to bear in mind is that, first of all, that's overwhelming to them. Imagine if you go on a first date with someone and before you've even sat down to the dinner table, they're all over you and kissing you and hugging you and just like bombarding you with all this intense emotion. Like that can be very overwhelming. So for out of respect to them, maybe just keep it cool, So secondly is your nervous system. So they deeply care about your sense of safety and they want you to feel safe and calm and regulated instead of overwhelmed. So this is again why I emphasize so much nervous system regulation so that you can stay cool, calm, and regulated. Plus, a lot of the communication that will take place will be telepathically. Yes, they'll be able to speak our language and they will be able to communicate a lot telepathically. And guess what? You will be able to pick up on that too. You're already telepathic. You can already pick up on when someone sends you a thought form. If you're tuning into this podcast, it's very likely that you have a high level of clairvoyant skills. So there's no doubt about you going to be able to pick up on some telepathic messages from them. And when that communication is taking place, it's important to stay calm and regulated and grounded. So quick tip for 2026, walk on the beach, put your feet in the grass, hug a tree, take plenty of showers, drink a lot of water, do grounding meditations. Just focus on grounding yourself. Lastly, it can be quite intense to meet an extraterrestrial being. So for people who have already met them, there's plenty of people who have had ET encounters. Even if it's the nicest energy, of course, the intentions are the best, it can still be intense for the nervous system. So you have to, on an individual level, assess yourself, how much of this am I able to tolerate? Even if it's full of ecstasy, even if it's full of joy and bliss and happiness, that can also be taxing on the nervous system. So maybe you're able to have this interaction for 2 minutes. Maybe you're able to have it for 30 seconds before there's an urge in you to retract and go and calm down and integrate what actually just happened. It's going to be very different from person to person how much interaction they're able to sustain and for over how many times. So you might be able to do 2 minutes, you might be able to do 10 minutes, you might be able to do an hour, and then you might need to retract, go home, sleep on it, integrate what just happened, and get used to that this is now a part of your reality, right? Okay, so that's a little bit on how to prepare for the actual contact with non-human intelligences. Now I'm going to tell you the 2 first species that we're going to be interacting with, which is very exciting. So again, we know there's already lots of species here. There's already lots of people who've had lots of contact. And there's been many species who've been involved with many individuals and also organizations for a very long time. So we're not talking about the first contact. We're talking about the 2 species that are most likely to be walking around on the street, to be interacting with the mass population that may not be as informed as all the other people who've had this kind of experience for a really long time. So the 2 species that we're going to see the most in the beginning interacting with humans are the Pleiadians and the Yaels. And why is it these 2 species? The biggest reason is their physical appearance. So they look very similar to us. The Pleiadians, they come from the Pleiadian star system. You can look up their beautiful history. There's a lot of wonderful information there. And many people who've already had interactions with them and had meetings with them, they say that they have fair skin, very similar to humans, and they're very similar to us in the way that they operate. They have full-on telepathy, so they're telepathic beings. They are, of course, a little more advanced than us in their spiritual evolution, but overall, they're very similar to us in many ways. So we can relate better with other people when we have a lot of similarities. Oh, you like matcha? I like matcha too. Oh my God, you love dogs? I love dogs too. Oh my God, do you get sad when you watch that movie? I get sad too. So we feel an affinity much easier with other people, species, beings, you name it, if there's some similarity between us. So it's going to be a lot easier for us to first interact with the Pleiadians and the Yaels, as opposed to other species that are very different from us. And the Yaels are also, these are all wonderful species. The Yaels are also a very wonderful species. They're actually a mixture of human genetics and extraterrestrial genetics. And it's said that they're 5 generations ahead of humans. They're kind of like our future relatives. The Yaels are very similar to us when it comes to appearance. And again, also very similar when it comes to emotions, when it comes to how they process information, their overall behavior, all of that stuff. So because of these similarities, it's going to be easy for us to feel an affinity, to feel friendship, to feel camaraderie with these species. And if it wasn't for how the human psyche works, yeah, we could be introducing other species. There's benevolent reptilians, by the way. That could have been super fun, but will most of the population be able to deal with that psychologically? Not yet. At some point in the future, yes. Just not right now. So we're going to start with the species that are the most similar to us so that it's not too intimidating, which makes sense, right? So I'm going to leave you with this and understand that we have a really exciting future ahead of us. There's so much positivity that's going to come from this. If you want even further tips on how to prepare, I highly recommend that you listen to my first episode about ET contact, where I spill all the beans and give you a lot of information on how to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically for what's to come. So we live in very exciting times. We have a very exciting future. And all of these contact experiences that we're going to have are going to have tremendous positive influences on us overall as humans, how we interact with each other on a society level, on a global mass consciousness level, even our economical systems, plus all of the technology that will be shared with the different species as well, is going to have a huge positive benefit on all of us together. And a little note on this is the non-human intelligences are not coming here to just give us a bunch of presents and fix us and help us because we're victims and we're broken and we can't fix ourselves. We are coming to a stage where we are ready for collaboration without hostility, without judgment, without fighting each other, but understanding that we're all in this together. We're all part of this wonderful universe. We're all part of the source love consciousness that's creating all of this here together. All of our friends out there in space, in the galaxy, in the universe are very excited on our behalf because this is a huge stepping stone in our evolution as a human species. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them in. I love answering your questions. Share this episode with a friend, subscribe, do all of that. That really helps this podcast, and I will see you in the next episode.